And welcome to the Link Online, and as you can see, it's a bit of a special edition of the Link and a special day as well, Thursday instead of Friday, and we are here live on Facebook from the Salon de l'Immigration, the Immigrant Expo, and this is the 8th edition of this annual event, and we have a bunch of people with us who are specialists in their various fields who are having booths and displays here at the Salon. We have, of course, with us Levon Savunts, who is a regular team member. We have Patricia Greziak. And hello. Patricia, will you introduce what your specialty is?
Yes, thank you for inviting us. I'm Patricia from the program Interconnection, initiated by the Chamber of Commerce of Metropolitan Montreal. And what we do is we put in contact companies who are looking for candidates and candidates who are new immigrants who are looking for a job. So we've been doing this for about 10 years now. And we do this through activities, for example, internships. We have 4 weeks internship on where the candidates work on a special project. We also have some speed jobbing interviews. Those are events where we gather about 50 candidates that are selected, about 15 companies also selected, and the idea is to gather them on one sector, and also mentorship, workshops,
well,
you name it.
We'll get into the details a little bit later on.
Thank you.
Of course, next to you, we have David De Palma from the Bank National, or National Bank, as the case may be, to talk about financial issues, right? And the importance of that for immigrants.
Correct.
Then we have Melissa Medeiros from the Eastern Townships, and you're going to talk about the advantages of
discovering the different regions of Quebec and different opportunities that you can find leaving big cities and yet finding a nice balance not too far away.
And Oscar Gonzalez, Education, Central Quebec, about the immigration program.
Exactly. I represent the Eastern Quebec Learning Center, which is the only adult vocational training in the city of Quebec, but it's in English. So it's the Anglophones in the Quebec City area.
And we have, of course, with us as well, the president of the Salon de l'Immigration and Immigrant Quebec, Mr. Jonathan Shojai. Thank you so much for coming with today.
A pleasure.
I know you're a very busy man, so I'm glad you can spend a few minutes today to talk to us. I was thinking, right off the bat, this edition looks bigger than previous ones. Is that the case?
It is, about 30% bigger. It's been 3 years. We have lots of demands from the regions to come here, and we didn't have the space too, so we had to add a big space, and this is the space. So it's pretty big for us, and we've grown a lot in 8 years. If you consider that we were about 70 different booths the first year, it's about 240 now, so it's 4 times bigger. So it's according to the reality of immigration in Quebec now.
And what are a couple of the new things that are this year that weren't here last year?
Well, of course, we try to make the point by allowing to our constituents and the visitors to meet employers, because, well, for starter, work is the first way for them to become part of our society. And then we try to help them each one step at a time to go through the different part of the process of immigration. So they can make their diploma recognized, they can have information about how to train themselves, to meet different regions and to meet people from there and having their questions answered. And then, of course, all the services that we can provide and the numerous companies and organizations, non-profit, most of them, helping them on a day-to-day basis. So for us, it's a big step, helping them under one roof, one time at a year, having all these people.
I noticed as well, although this is primarily a French area, I've been hearing all kinds of languages here. English is not a problem to get information, and several other languages as well.
Among the year, more or less 100 different countries are represented here with the 9,000 people coming in the salon. So for us, of course, it's a very multicultural and multilingual event, even if lots of things are made in France because, well, we're in Quebec.
And we have a lot of special events, as we can hear sort of behind us. There's a conference going on behind us as well. One of the things that I also find interesting is that, and as you've mentioned, is that there are a lot of opportunities for people who are here now who are looking for jobs, there are recruiters around here that can help you find a job.
Yeah, we got 80 different companies that are specifically here to recruit immigrants. They said it and they know it. So it's a very good message, I think, for the industry to come this way and not saying we're looking for people, we're looking for specific talents and we know you have them. So it's very important for us, and it's like 1/3 of the whole salon, of the show.
So what would you like to say, Jonathan? I know you're very busy and you have to leave us momentarily, but what would you like to say to people about this salon, why they should come here, why it's important?
Well, first, it's free, and it's important to say so. It's the first event, and it's the only event in the world to welcome immigrants this way. You know, lots of countries, they got fairs to help people get out. And we say to them, get in, and we are all here together to help you understand what you can find here and how you can express all the potential you have been selected for. So come here, you got lots of conferences, you got lots of professionals. Everybody is very generous here. You can't imagine the amount of expertise you got under the same roof, and it's 2 days only in the year, so it was yesterday and it's today. Yesterday we had nearly 5,000 people coming here, and it's a very, very great honor for us to welcome you. So come and see what we have to offer.
Jonathan Shojai, thank you so much. I know, as I say,
much.
you're busy and you have to leave us, but thank you
very
very much. We appreciate
Bye-bye.
the moments that you've given us. All right, now I want to say also hello to our listeners, our regular listeners who will not hear us live today because they pick us up on shortwave and on the internet and so on. So we're going to say hello to our listeners at World Radio Paris and also on the shortwave service in Germany and 97.5 FM Radio Conakry in Nigeria. And also, of course, we are live on Facebook today. So, Levon, people can, if they have a question about education or banking or business interests.
Or getting a job or setting
what it's
up
like
a business.
outside of Quebec, for example, instead of
yes.
just being in Montreal, you want to go to a region, they can text us and ask a question. We'll try to answer it. So how do they do that?
They like our link on Radio Canada International, and they just simply log in and send us questions. I'm monitoring our Facebook page, and if you have any questions, send them or listen to what we have to say, because I'm sure there's a lot of interesting stuff going on today.
All right. Well, let's start with, I don't know, shall we start with the regions? And because the theme, of course, is the regions this time around. And when you're a newcomer, most of the time you're attracted to the major centers, like Montreal or Quebec City, for example. But Quebec is about, I think, for example, 2.5 times the size of France. So there's a lot of region out there to go to.
Exactly.
And tell us a bit about your region. How big, for example, is the Eastern Townships, roughly speaking?
Well, the Eastern Townships basically is mostly known by the main city of Sherbrooke, which is the 6th biggest city in Quebec. And then all around that, you have many other different municipalities that join into this big Eastern Township region. The good thing about the Eastern Townships is we're only an hour and a half from Montreal. So for many visitors here these past 2 days that we've met who did not know about the Eastern Townships, we're not that far away. So people who have formed roots already in Montreal coming here, whether with friends or family, it's pretty interesting for them to know that it's not that far away. And yeah, you leave the big city and yet you go to another pretty large one, but with a nice balance with nature, no traffic, many, many jobs opportunities, just like other regions that are represented here, with many different sectors as well. So we're trying to get them to know us and maybe come visit to come join us for good.
Well, of course, for people in the province, this is known, this area, the Eastern Townships, is known as a very touristy type of lovely, quiet place. But again, if you're a newcomer to Canada or Quebec, why would someone want to go to an area like the Eastern Townships instead of Montreal or Quebec City or something like that?
Well, we're lucky to have a very bilingual region since we're so close to the United States. You can find a very good equilibrium between French and English. We have a French university, English university. We have a very well-recognized health services as well. So it's not far. It's accessible to multicultural people who wish to leave maybe the bigger chaos and find something a little bit more peaceful, especially families will be interested in the different educational systems that we can offer private, public, bilingual, trilingual, many communities as well, representing South America, Europeans, Africa, all over the world, are just big enough to say that you find your community, but not too big to say that you forget to integrate the Quebec.
And you don't get stuck in traffic jams.
Never, you really don't.
How about industries? What kind of industries, like people who are interested in Eastern Townships, what is it there that they can think about jobs and opportunities in business?
Well, we have it all. Right now, there's a very big demand in IT services across all the region of the Eastern Townships, whether it's the most important centers or the smaller communities. And you really have basically all levels, whether it is daily work from 9 to 5 or more qualified, if you want, workers as well who are looking for a transfer within higher possibilities. But we have it all. Like I said, healthcare, everything that touches education, all the different sectors of welding is in a very big demand right now. Everything.
Let's go to another region of the country, which is the central Quebec area, which is quite a ways away in a sense. Tell us a bit about the central Quebec area and the education there.
So Eastern Quebec Learning Center is part of the Central Quebec School Board, and as you said, we're in the middle of the province. So we cover actually from La Mauricie area. We go up to Lac Saint-Jean. We have some school in La Beauce, and well, we're based in Quebec City. And the challenge here for us is that we're the Anglophones. We're the English-speaking in this super French area. And part of the purpose to coming here to the Salon de l'Immigration, it's to tell the people that we actually exist, because it's a really small community. Like, we are known that we are the super French area, which is good, but then we want to promote as well that we have for a lot of people who wants to improve their English or to learn in English, that they can do it in Quebec City area.
But Oscar Gonzalez, you're also in charge of the immigrant program, so tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, I was 8 years ago a newcomer, an immigrant from Mexico here to Montreal. That's why it's kind of interesting, because I came here to the big city. That's what we know about Quebec. It's Montreal, the Montreal area. So we come here, and I have to say that this salon is really a good option for everybody who's coming to the province, because they can help you with a lot of information. That time, actually, it wasn't the first one, because I came here in 2011. I think the first salon was 8 years ago, 2012. So it's incredible, this kind of services that you can get. And yes, we want to promote the Quebec City area with the international programs. For example, there are a lot of international students who want to come to Quebec and get both experiences. Maybe we can have it in the region of La Estrie as well, because you have English, you can have French, but then you have the best of two worlds. So we have small cities, we have tradition, like Quebec City, for example, Trois-Rivières, those little cities that we don't have the big problems of the big cities as well. We do have services, so it's a really interesting area to practice both languages, to learn English and French outside Montreal.
Now, in a case like yours, what do people need to come to Canada to take part in an education program like that? Paperwork or qualifications or things like that?
Well, if they want to come for studies, for example, if it's the youth sector, they need to have the base of English and French. For example, if they want to join one of our vocational training programs, since most of the trainings are in the health sector, so they need really a high level of English and high level of French. Because even though our trainings are in English in the classroom, then when they go to the hospitals in Quebec area, everything is in French. So those would be the most important things that they need to do if they want to come to Quebec. But the good part is when they are qualified to these trainings and they finish their trainings with us, then the market is so open, because then often they are trilingual already, because French, English, and then a third language such as Arabic, Spanish, Chinese. Yeah. So it's,
what are some of the vocational training programs that you offer?
Well, the one that we have now that it's really important, it's in high demand, is the health assistant and nursing program. So this is the most popular one. We do have others. For example, we opened last year a new one that is pharmaceutical technical. So these two, but we do offer, for example, hotel reception. We have secretarial studies, starting a business, for example.
How do they contact you? Or the central board or whatever, if they're interested in education opportunities?
Me as an immigrant, when I was living in Quebec, well, I was looking for exactly something bilingual. I wanted to not to lose my English and my French, so it was the perfect place to work. This environment, bilingual environment, in a small city.
Well, let's go on to another subject then, and that is if you're a business immigrant, or you want to invest in the province or invest in a business. And we have, of course, Patricia from the Chamber of Commerce here in Montreal. So what are some of the programs that offers then?
So you have our program, the Interconnection Program, that you can join if you're interested in investing in your career path. So how you do basically is you go online, that's the first step. You go online, www.interconnection.ca. What we offer is we put in contact the professional immigrants with the companies, with the business community of Montreal through different activities. So usually we have about 1,300 companies who are dealing with the interconnection program. And we have also some activities, different activities. We choose with you, the candidates, which activity would go better with your career path. It's free for all, free for the candidates, free for the companies. And the idea is to either join an internship of 4 weeks, or speed jobbing interviews, different sectors that we tackle during the year, and also mentorship depending on where you're at during your career. We also have some business visits as well. So really the idea is to see where you're at in your career path, because most of the time the new immigrants who are coming here, they would like to reach their potential rapidly. So what we offer is the first experience in Quebec. And also the idea is for them to stay in their field. It's very important for them to stay in their field, so we are working with them for that. And thanks to the business community, we're able to do that. We've been doing it for 10 years now.
So do you recruit businesses for this, or do they approach you?
We do both. It's true that when a business knows about the interconnection program, they approach us. Usually how it works is that they hear about us, and if we also give the message that every company, we know that one of their concerns is the availability of the workforce. So the idea is to give them access to a larger pool of candidates.
So do you get people from all over the world contacting you, or are there specific regions that seem more interested in this area than others?
So we have people contacting us from France, but we ask the people, the immigrants, to be in Quebec, to be in the region, to apply, as well as the company. We deal mostly with companies in the region of Montreal. But of course, depending on the need of everyone, we refer the person or the company. But we deal mostly with candidates who are in Quebec. You have some criteria. So one candidate who would like to join has to have his permanent residence, needs to be here, to be living in Quebec for less than 5 years. Recently, we have the spouse of temporary workers who can also apply. And one and the most is you would like to reach your field. You would like to have a specific experience in your field, so then you can approach the interconnection program.
So if I was, say, an engineering student in Europe, and I was thinking that I would like to come to Canada, how would I approach this?
First, if you are in your country, you can call us, but we will tell you to be in Quebec first. But once you're in Quebec, definitely what you can do is the first step is to go online. Why is because you can fully see the service that we offer. The website is really well done, very friendly user. Once again, I said interconnexion.ca. That's the first step, and we made it very clear, very short, and behind the screen is a team of 20 advisors. So what we do as advisors is we look at your profile, and we also have the demand from the businesses. So the businesses, for example, we request candidates in your field, engineering, for example. So then we will contact you. The other possibility, usually what we do is we contact you when there is an opening in one of our activities. So, but before, if you register, what we do is we try to, every candidate who registers at the interconnection program, we call him during the week to see where he's at, what he wants to join, what field he's in, and we hope to contact him again very soon to put him in the activities of the program.
Or her.
So the first step is online, and the second step is we talk together to see where you're at. Same thing for the companies.
How long has this program been running?
The program has been running for more than 10 years. It was launched by the Chamber of Commerce of Metropolitan Montreal in 2008. And we've been improving the services through the years. And also we've been, what's interesting is we've been able to welcome more participants in our activities. Especially thanks 2 years, we were able to triple the team of advisors. So we're very glad to be able to serve more the new immigrant people and also the business community. So more companies.
How successful has it been? In terms of the number of people or what people have, what kind of feedback you've been getting, for example?
So we have a very good rate of satisfaction. We actually, we like to have this feedback from the companies and the immigrants. So it's 98% of satisfaction. So it's a very good rate. We have 1,300 companies that we put in contact with more than 8,000 immigrants those past 7 years. So it's working pretty good, and we have during a year about 1,200 participants, 400 internships. So come on, get your turn.
But you have to be here first.
But you have to be here.
Sense,
Yes. You have to live in Quebec, be a permanent resident at least, or a spouse of temporary worker. Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I had thought was interesting is Levon and I were talking on the way over here, and I asked him, because Levon has been here about 30 years, but when he first came, I said, what was the biggest surprising thing for you? And it was banking.
Banking, yes. I came from just after the Soviet Union collapsed. So I had grown up in the Soviet Union, and where we had only one state-owned bank. I told Mark I had never seen a checkbook in my life. I had read about checks, but had never written or signed a check in my life. I had no idea how you about credit cards. Had never seen a credit card in my life. The entire concept of somebody loaning you money like that was completely foreign to me. So there's a lot of catching up to do, and I think it's for a lot of people. Even coming now, the Canadian banking system is really different from the other countries. So I'm just curious.
Well, with more on that, we have David De Palma from the Banque Nationale, National Bank. Welcome to you.
Good afternoon, thank you.
For a newcomer, how do you explain to them how the banking system works here? If they have, because many countries, although banking systems around the world are much better than they were 30 years ago, still there might be a lot of differences for people. What do they say to you?
Well, it's obvious that our banking system is evidently different than, I'd say, a lot of the foreign banks or foreign systems. And we hear that a lot from our newcomers that do come in. And it's important for us, apart from talking about our systems, to understand theirs as well. So can we try making a parallel in how our systems work in contrast to theirs? And also by getting a better insight onto the way they're used to banking, well, we also know where to put our finger on how to properly and better educate them on the matter. Because banking is way more than just opening a bank account. It's way more than getting an infamous bank book or a debit card or a credit card for that matter. It all comes with a basic and thorough education on how does our system thoroughly work. because we've seen it a lot today, and I'm proud to say that I'm president in certain branches that have received a large volume of new immigrants over the past 2-3 years. And the basic is, well, we've been told that we should come and get this, and we've been told that we should adhere to a credit card or to a bank account. But when we get into as far as the why are you getting it, there isn't any thorough answer behind it. And that's where our job stimulates the discussion in terms of educating. Because granted, there is, yes, the basis of they need to receive their grants, they need to transfer their money, so it's an obvious that we need to open a bank account. But we're talking about debit cards and unlimited transactions and transaction fees, or even just something which is extremely put on the back burner, in my opinion, is establishing a credit bureau.
Well, that's right, because without a credit rating, I mean, there's a lot you can't do until you get a credit rating.
Correct,
right?
and something that we've noticed that's, what I mean by put on the back burner is that creating a credit bureau in foreign countries is not really something that's a common notion, and it's very pertinent here in Canada. It's actually the backbone of any of our future steps and projects that we want to realize, from purchasing our first car to purchasing our first home. The basis starts with establishing and understanding how credit works. So I believe that is our biggest element, is really breaking through the barrier of what is establishing credit in Canada, explaining the various credit bureaus that we work with, such as TransUnion and Equifax, and also explaining why it's important to start with a credit card. Because the common misconception, and we see it in a lot of foreign countries, is we're going to use the money we have, which is a respectable concept. However, the credit card is a basis for starting and opening that future door. So explaining how to use it, why we should use it, and what it does. What is the positive and negative correlations to properly and not properly using our credit? It's great to have a credit card, for example, and I know I keep putting the emphasis on that, but it is the reality of the basic. It's not just about having it and not using it. We need to establish some sort of a comportement or a history, exactly, and that is crucial, because as easy as it is to build, it's unfortunately that much quicker to break down as well. So I believe accompanying the person in front of us is extremely important, because again, it's not just about opening an account and getting that infamous plastic card. It's explaining to them what's in their hand and how to properly use it. And I believe that's how we ourselves, and I mean we ourselves, everyone present at this expo is distinguishing themselves, as we're looking at the human in front of us. We're not looking at a number. We're not just looking at a product. We're actually trying to accompany these new immigrants who are trying to come in to better themselves and clearly stimulate our economy as well. So let's work together to bring them to that next level.
I guess it's also, do you also get the question about security? Because our Canadian banking system, of course, is very regulated and very secure, and people, are they a little bit nervous about new banks?
I'd say the element which we hear a lot discussed in our meetings is, are you privately owned? What are the risks associated? So we also get into the discussion how banks are regulated by the CDIC, which is an awesome protection that if anything were to, happen, customers are protected. And that's nice to mention how we, as a country, put something in place to protect people's money. We make it, so let's preserve it and make sure we know how to keep it for a long time as well. So yes, we do get into that discussion on how security of their funds and everyday day-to-day banking. I mean, we've seen a surge now of online activity. So that's also an element that comes on, is how do we wire and how do we do day-to-day banking online? How do we make credit requests? How do we apply for mortgages online? So although it's a great evolution that we're present with, because everyone's lacking time nowadays, so let's give them the capacities and the ability to bank quicker and better. Well, it opens that door of how am I protected doing so. So elaborating and creating that balance of protecting your personal information, protecting your finances, is also two elements that go hand in hand as well.
One of them, you mentioned it, one of the biggest things that any immigrant or most immigrants want to do is to buy a house. And on the way to buying the house, you have to build certain steps. What are those steps from the bank's perspective? So what is it when people say, I'm coming here, I want to buy a house, what is it that they need to do before they get and sign that mortgage?
Well, there's actually two elements that work parallel together. First is, as I've mentioned prior, establishing your credit. we'd love to live in an unrealistic world where we say people give us money without knowing anything about us. Unfortunately, I'd lift my hand if I can know where to get it, but it's not the reality. So establishing credit is really the basic element. And as I mentioned, whether it be through starting with a simple credit card, that's actually a good indicative factor to help us start establishing ourselves. And also equity. We need savings. Granted, there's various programs that exist, whether through the CHMC or the Genworth programs that exist here in Canada to help support and encourage first home-time buyers or secondary home-time buyers for that matter. But at the same time, there is a certain amount of equity and savings which we need to have. So when we're educating our customers on what are your, short, medium, and long-term goals, and many either coming to establish themselves or immigrating here with families our dream is to have that eventual home. So our initial action plan is let's focus on better educating you on how establishing and preserving your credit works, and at the same time, how do we put into place an action plan to stimulate your savings, which is obviously always tailored to the customer's needs and their finances as well, because we need to set realistic goals. Anything that's unrealistic was, I'd say, largest chances are not unattainable. So savings and credit establishment are the two elements that must be mastered off via an expert as well.
And the credit history, the backbone of it is that how much money you take and how quickly and how well on time you pay. Is that
correct? Well, on the basis, exactly, do I own one? That's the first element that they're looking at is, do we own some sort of credit? Check that on the list. Secondly is my capacity. Am I able to refund what I'm using? And we understand that that's the point of financing, is that times we want to borrow a certain amount of XYZ dollars that we don't necessarily have accumulated. If not, we would have probably made the purchase via other sources. However, are we able to at least respect our payments? Another element is when we're looking at credit card usage, for example, am I always maximizing my limit? Am I passing my limit? That demonstrate an inappropriate usage of credit as well. So I'd say the two elements is ensuring that we keep a low ratio of usage. Anything below 50 to 60% of usage is the ideal. Respecting your payments and increasing savings as well.
Well, we're almost out of time, but I do want to get a couple of other points in, and we're talking about this experience here. And Oscar, I'd just be curious, what was your experience when you first came here? What struck you the most?
Well, it's a whole new world, really. It's really difficult, actually, because I came by myself, but I know that for people who come with the whole family and being in another country that you don't know the rules, for example, about banking, you don't know about the health insurance, and you need a job, you need all this, you need to change the way of doing your CVs. It's a really whole new world. It's really difficult. I understand the newcomers, all the challenge that they have for this. Perfectioning maybe two languages if they don't speak well both, so it's a whole challenge, but it's really enriching and it's possible. I've done this in the 8 years I lived this experience. It's great. It is possible to be a Quebecer, in the next 5 to 10 years. So it's an enriching experience, but it's difficult. Yes.
Patricia, what about you? What was your experience?
Personal experience was I came from France in an internship, but I was bilingual already, so it was easy to be in the company I was working, and at the end of the internship they proposed a job offer.
But still,
France
is not
remember
Canada, right?
one thing though is about the networking. The networking that I was doing, because I understood very quick that here in Quebec you have to meet with the people, and also you never know who you're talking with. So the networking was very useful because you get actually a lot of information, and sometimes the people, they remember you, we are linked together, and then they can give you information, advice, and so I do remember that though. Networking was the key point.
All right, so now if people want to find out more information about the Chamber of Commerce of Montreal and the program Interconnection and so on, where do they look for that?
They look on our website at www.interconnection.ca, and they have a form to fill in, very easy, whether you're a candidate or a company. It's free, it's really free for all, and then after that we have an advisor who will contact you soon.
All right, David De Palma, if people want to find out about banking, where do they look?
Well, they can refer themselves to our direct website, which is nbc.ca, as in nationalbankcanada.ca. And it's actually pretty interesting. We have a whole department on our page which is designated to new immigrants, as we do offer programs designated to new immigrants to facilitate and offer them free banking for their first 3 years, as well as services which help them with legal advice for immigration, for visa, housing elements. So there's really a whole department on our page which is designated to that, which is other reason as to why we're present here today.
All right. Melissa, if people want to find out about the lovely area of the Eastern Townships, where do they look?
I'm not going to give out a website. I would say just come and visit since we're an hour and a half away, and plenty of different organizations are in place, whether it's through tourism, simply by coming to see the different opportunities and then making links to the different opportunities and jobs that we have to offer in the region at the moment.
So I would, if I'm in France or Germany or South Africa, I would just Google Eastern Townships?
Or Estrie, yes, absolutely. And then within that big area, try to see which would fit best your needs. Would be lovely to have you.
And Oscar, what about education opportunities?
Well, I will say 2 ways to contact us. So the first one, for those who are not in Montreal, they can go to the website, to easternquebec.ca or Central Quebec School Board site. But if you are here in Montreal, I'm inviting them to here to the, just take the metro, take the bus and come here and join us to the booth. It's incredible. And really, if you are in Montreal area, come and get all these fabulous services and information. And again, it's free.
All right, I'd like to thank you all very much for participating today. Oscar Gonzalez, thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa Medeiros, thank you. David De Palma, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Patricia Graziak, thank you.
Thank you.
And Levon, thank you.
Thank you.
And that's our program for this edition of The Link Online, live from the Salon de l'Immigration here in downtown Montreal, the 8th edition. Bye-bye until next time.